Hello, I'm Dr. William Inman. Most of you know me through a series of YouTube videos essentially involving frequency-specific low-level laser therapy. I'm the originator of this, been doing it for 20 years. 20 years ago, we directed our attentions to a number of different disease conditions, one of which was benign prostatic hyperplasia, prostatitis, BPH, essentially, in all mammals, male mammals, essentially, dog, cat, horse, and human. We were able to get a rather effective application of this technology using the old lasers that we used to use, but once we updated to the new laser, our results have been significant and stratospheric, and I'd recommend strongly that you listen to this video because you're going to run across this, and are running across this now, but it's going undiagnosed and untreated. The interesting thing about the pelvic canal of the human being or of the animal in that regard is that it acts like no man's land in the male of the species, essentially. And so as they get middle-aged, essentially, and going into latter years, that particular area decreases in its amount of blood supply and lymphatic drainage. And what that does is it produces a swelling of the tissues there, such as the bladder, producing bladder problems, and also the prostate gland itself too starts to swell, which produces more problems and problems with intimacy, and also sexual problems, which we'll discuss in a second. But also it produces, as the prostate swells, because it can't drain correctly and doesn't get adequate blood supply, it swells within the pelvic canal and puts pressure against the pelvic nerve, which lies up against the inside of the pelvic canal, and that produces a number of different conditions, including increased urge to urinate, increased urination, and intimacy problems in the male. These conditions also occur in the dog and in the horse. I'm talking about prostatic-related problems, but keep in mind that most dogs are neuter, and a lot of horses are neuter, essentially. And the unneutered male horse, essentially, that is a racehorse, after 6 years of age, the benign prostatic hyperplasia compromises their rear leg strength. And so, essentially, what we're able to do is increase their their ability to run and strengthen their rear legs by treating them for the benign prostatic hyperplasia that they're accruing, even though we don't see clinical symptomology. It's been suggested through research that the human male, 40% of 40-year-old human males have benign prostatic hyperplasia, 50% of 50-year-olds, 60% of 60-year-olds, and almost 100%, 70-plus male human beings have benign prostatic hyperplasia, which can produce any number of conditions, more commonly increasing urge to urinate and increasing trips to the bathroom, incomplete bladder emptying, etc., and also intimacy problems. Now, the problem with intimacy problems is that your clients, your male clients, and talking about humans now, won't originate that to you. And so the only way to open up a conversation about that would be to question them whether they're having more trips to the bathroom. And that's almost always benign prostatic hyperplasia in lack of other kinds of conditions. And they may get a PSA test that may or may not be elevated, and God forbid they don't have a tumor or they don't have prostatic cancer, essentially, which is a possibility but low probability. It's been suggested that benign prostatic hyperplasia is an entry point to tumor and metastatic cancer associated from the prostate gland. Of course, that's for other people to decide and not myself. What we found a long time ago is that we're able to effectively use frequency-specific low-level laser therapy as a means to increase the blood supply, increase the lymphatic drainage to those tissues, shrink the prostate, take the pressure off the pelvic nerve, rehabilitate the function of the bladder, essentially, and the urinary tract in general, urethra, essentially, and give the person a very quick response to therapy. It's been suggested, and we found this to be clinically, that if we utilize this new laser, which will deliver 16 different frequencies, which I'll discuss in a moment, and we laser this particular area, obviously, and then laser it for 60 seconds, after 2 laserings, one day 1 and one day 2, there will be significant benefits, sometimes only after 1 day, which the client will recognize as decreased urge to urinate, and will also realize they're able to empty their bladder more frequently. Very few things in frequency-specific low-level laser therapy respond as quickly as benign prostatic hyperplasia in the dog and the human being. So what we're interested in making sure that you're aware of is you're not using this technique in just about any middle-aged or older male human, then you're missing out on something that you could in fact address and repair reasonably well with just a few laserings. In my personal experience, that in my late 40s I started to experience this and lasered myself with the old-fashioned lasers that we used to use. Effectively, after 2 laserings, the problem went away for 2 years. Then it came back after 2 years. I said, oh, crap. And then I lasered myself 2 more times, and it went away for another 2 years. And then it came back, and I said, oh, crap. And then I lasered myself 2 more times, thinking I would just do the same thing I did before, and it didn't go away. I said, you see, the technology doesn't work. But I lasered myself a 3rd time, and it went away, and it's gone away now for over 10 years. So my point is that we're offering a way to rehabilitate the blood supply and the vascularity to the tissues of the pelvic canal using this laser. Now, there are a number of different lotions and potions and things that are out there that kind of do the same thing. There are nutritional supplements, and then there's Cialis and Viagra, essentially, which virtually have only been developed to actually increase the blood supply and vascularity in that tissue. But as soon as you stop using it, it goes away, so you have to take it all the time. This actually repairs the problem. It increases the blood supply, lymphatic drainage, and neurological technology or neurological function in the pelvic canal, and also reestablishes the normal functionality in that particular tissue. The frequencies that we use are frequencies for the prostate, which are 10 and 20, but also for infection, 784. We use a frequency for lymphatic drainage, 2 of them, 230 and 54, 230 and 42. And then we use the frequencies for increased blood supply, arterial, 100, venous supply, 4, capillary supply 300, and we can use those frequencies in our old devices, but they're not as effective as if we use them in one fell swoop. There's about 5 other frequencies that we use to re-establish the neurological function of the pelvic nerve that has been compromised over a long period of time, which gives us a more or less long-lasting solution to this particular condition. So what we would do is we would laser for 60 seconds, the next day laser for 60 seconds, and maybe do a series of these twice a week for another couple weeks and watch the prostatic problem recur. In the canine, very commonly, we only have to laser them 4 or 5 times to resolve this problem. We don't see a lot of canine prostatitis problems because most dogs are neutered, but people aren't. So human male are not neutered, and because of that, they're going to have this condition. Or half the people that walk into your front door are going to be experiencing this particular phenomenon and will benefit from this therapy. Again, you don't really want to address the fact that they may have problems with intimacy, but you may want to address the fact that they may have problems with your genital tract, which is a way to get into reducing this condition. When you rehabilitate the urogenital tract, essentially, and their urinary tract phenomenon, they will come in the next day and go like, holy cow, what did you do to me? And that's a good thing. They won't come to you and say, wow, my intimacy problem has gone away, doc, thank you very much. They very commonly will not give us that information, and that's pretty much confidential in the first place, so we're not interested in dealing with that. But that is, in fact, a big benefit for this condition. We basically do not have to use any kinds of supplements for erectile dysfunction when we utilize this particular approach. So my approach here is actually quite easy, and it's going unrecognized by practitioners who don't use this particular instrument. We use this instrument because it'll deliver 16 different frequencies, many of which I've showed you, instead of trying to do 4 sets of 4 with the other devices, which have not been very effective. And we can also crank this up to about 225 milliwatts, which actually allows us to laser for only 60 seconds, which is very convenient. We think more effective. This device, over the devices that we used to use, essentially is head and shoulders above the devices we used to use. I'd say at least 10 times more effective, which is why we recommend it. If you have interest in this instrument or its application, please feel free to contact me at 208-640-3430. That's my cell phone. I'm Pacific Daylight Time and Pacific Standard Time, so I'm hours behind some of you. And I'll be more than happy to give you information, or you can email me at drbill@vomtech.com, VOMTECH.com, and I will send you as much information as you need about the application of this device. This device is available to anybody. Anybody can order this device, but they have to get these protocols. They have to order it through me. You can get this device online, this same model of device, but it doesn't have the protocols, and through a non-disclosure agreement that protects my intellectual property that we generated over the last 25 years, you have to order it through me. You can't order another one and have it updated. It cannot be updated, so it has to come from me. Anyway, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it, and please feel free to contact me, and I'll give you more data about how it is that we use this. But again, very few things function as effectively and as quickly as treating prostatitis, benign prostatic hyperplasia, and BPH, as does this device's application in the male species, dog, cat, horse, and human. Thank you very much, and have a great day.